Hi guys, I'm Hayden. Welcome back to our weekly budget builds. This week we're going to be continuing on the 1500. We're going to be mocking up and customizing a new shift bracket for it. It didn't have any shift linkage, so we're going to start all the way from where the column comes through the firewall all the way down to the transmission. After that, we're going to be showing you guys how to do a basic oil maintenance on your hot rod. Alright guys, so we're going to be lifting up the truck so we can get underneath and have access to the transmission and where the linkage comes down. I'm going to show you guys. You're always going to want to lift off the frame somewhere. Make sure it's secure. You don't want it slipping off. Don't ever lift off the body. It'll just rip it right off. Also, make sure anytime that you're jacking something up and getting under, always have a jack stand. It's very important because this jack could fail and it could very well kill you. You're going to want the jack stand also on the frame in a very secure spot. In a spot where it's not going to get kicked out or hit by anything. I like to just set it down on the jack stand and then have the jack there also for another backup. So right now it's safe to get under. It's not going to fall on us, so we're going to head under there and start looking what we need to mock up. Alright guys, so we're under the GMC right now. This is a 700 R4. We're going to be building the bracket that goes from here over, and it's going to have some levers on it that'll have a rod coming down from the steering column, and that will allow us to shift the car from the original steering knob. I would like to eventually find a new factory setup here, but they're just too expensive and hard to find. So we're going to do a quick measurement. We're going to be using just a cheap little tape measure you get for free at places. They come in real handy in tight spots. So we're going to measure from the transmission all the way over to this hole in the frame. I'll get on into the hole. Be about 13.5 inches it looks to be. So we'll probably be having just a pipe, really, is what I'm seeing in my head. It goes about 2.5 inches into that frame, so about 15 inches of pipe, 16 inches I think is where we'll start. We're going to go to the drawing board right now and mock everything up for the welder. Okay guys, so what we're going to have here is, here's the transmission, here's the front of the vehicle. The frame's going to run along here. What we're going to do is we're going to do a pipe right here with a little lever coming off, and off that lever we're going to have a bar that heads up. They're going to have eyelets on both sides of that bar. It's going to head up to the steering linkage shift part off of that, and it's going to shoot down. So here's kind of a close-up of it. We're going to have a bar, basically some tubing. We're going to weld a little stock on there with a drill a hole in it and have this bar coming up to the steering, and that's where we're going to get our shifting from. Here's our transmission with a bolt going through there, and that's going to slide into the frame. On here it's really important that you're going to leave some space between, because this is a channeled frame, so you're going to have the outer wall and the inner wall of the frame. It's going to be really important to leave space between this tubing or this piping and the outer wall, because as you're driving along your transmission is going to move and twist from all the torque and just driving, and you don't want it to be solid mounted. You're going to want to have some play in there so it doesn't shift on you going down the road. So from the frame to the transmission, it was about 14.5 inches, and in here we're going to have about 3 inches to 2 inches, so I think we're going to do about a 16.5 piece of tubing, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so we found this piece of tubing. It's going to be fine. It was actually at 16 inches, and that's going to be what we're going to need. What we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole right here so a bolt can go through that and connect to the transmission. We're going to weld a little tab coming off with a hole in it. Alright guys, so we got the hole drilled. We're going to have a little tab coming off of here, and we're gonna weld that on real quick. Alright guys, so we have this little piece welded on here. We went ahead and drilled a hole through there. This is some terrible welding. It's not really the same metal, and I just kind of threw it together just to be a little temporary. You know, we're on a budget. We got to get things done cheaply. This will, I believe, do the trick. This is a little rod I got off of Amazon. We'll put that in the link in the description below. Yeah, this is just, it was kind of expensive for that rod. It comes with a few other things, but we have it all pre-bent, and we're gonna slide this under and hook it up to the transmission. Alright guys, so we're under the GMC right now. We're slipping this on up to that steering column, and we're gonna slide this in. We gotta grind it down a little bit so it'll fit into that hole. Going right into that frame. Those look like it lines up. We're going to slide a washer and a stainless steel bolt on the top. We're going to have to use a locking nut with a little nylon in it on here, just because of all the vibrations, and keep that from backing off while going down the road. It slips through there like that. Just for right now, since we're mocking it up, we're not using a nylon nut. I think that'll be good. That rod goes straight up to where the steering column comes through the firewall. There's a little mechanism linkage thing on there. We're going to be hooking these eyelets off the Amazon part. We're going to be putting that on up there. Alright, so we're installing this right onto here. It's kind of hard to see down in there. It's going to be, that's where that bar comes up from the transmission. That's got, we actually do have a nylon locking nut right here. Alright, so we're going from park into reverse. Then we're going to go reverse to neutral. Then we're going to go to drive. We're going to go to 2 and 1. Perfect. All the way back up to park. And we're good. Alright guys, so we're going to be using this 20W50 racing oil by Valvoline. It's going to have a high zinc content for this flat tappet cam. It's very important for the flat tappet cam to have a high zinc. Most new oils don't have that. Alright guys, so we're going to be using our Lucas additive. It's very great for your engine. I would recommend it to anybody for their oil changes. Basically, you substitute 1 quart of oil for this. It's great. Keeps engines lasting long. For our filter, we're going to do a STP. 5,000 miles. I'm not going to do 5,000 miles. I usually like to keep it 3,000 miles. But we're going to get to the oil change. Before we do this oil change, it's pretty cold in the shop. So what we're going to do is we're going to start the motor, let the oil kind of work its way around, get warm, so we can drain it a little bit faster. So here we go. We're underneath the 54 Ford. We're going to do its oil change here. We got a 14 millimeter. We went ahead and we broke this loose. We're going to take this out. We got our oil drain right here. This oil drain pan should be loose enough. Whenever you're doing an oil change, make sure you have plenty of rags handy. And I think it's about ready, and there it is. So it was a good thing we let it warm up. The longer you let it go, the hotter it's going to get. But whenever oil's hotter, it's going to be real thin. Okay. Alright, so as you guys can see, it's a real messy job. This isn't even, I'd say, the messiest part. Once we get to this oil filter over here, that's going to be a real mess. We're going to go back through with our 14 and tighten that up. You don't want to go too tight, but you want to make sure it's not going to back off as you're going down the road. We have a few different types. We have this band clamp to get this off. We also have this like rubber one. I usually use one of the wrenches. But now this is what we got. This is gonna be a messy. So as you see, as you get it broken loose, make sure this pan is right underneath, because whenever it starts flowing, it's gonna be messy. We'll have one of our guys bring our oil filters. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a little bit of old oil and I'm putting it on this rubber here, this rubber seal. It's just gonna make sure that it's not gonna seize up on there. Keep it nice, and it's gonna have a good, nice seal. So here comes one of the messy parts. You can see inside that filter, this filter holds quite a bit of oil. There's a bunch of like cardboard and filter in there, and it just stores oil for a while. We're gonna take a rag, wipe around up here, kind of make it a little bit more clean. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go out from underneath the truck and we're gonna fill the oil filter up with oil, and we'll be back. We opened up our Valvoline bracing oil. We're gonna add 4 quarts. We're gonna put 5 quarts all together, but we're gonna add 4 quarts of oil and the 1 quart of Lucas. So you're gonna wanna set the oil jug on a somewhat level surface so you can get an accurate reading. We're a little bit above a quart, but I think that'll be okay. We're gonna go ahead and add the Lucas and then start her up, see where our level is. Alright, so we got the Lucas here. It comes with a little nozzle. I really don't ever use it. This stuff's so thick, especially on a cold day like today. You may have to heat it up. I've even had to put it in the microwave sometimes. Don't worry, that's completely safe. Just make sure you're watching it and be smart about it. So just go ahead and really just put it in there and start squeezing is what I normally do. So before we start the engine up after the oil change, I like to do a quick check of oil just to make sure there's at least enough in there. As you see, it's up to the full line, so we're going to go ahead and start it up. Putting the breather back on, and that's going to final up this oil change. So that's how you're going to do your basic oil maintenance on your hot rod. Every vehicle is going to be a little bit different, but most small block Chevys, that's pretty much it. That's as simple as it gets. Drain the oil, put the filter on, add some oil. As long as you're smart about it, check for leaks, you should be good. Make sure you're always putting the right oil that your engine calls for. If you don't know, go down to your auto parts store, tell them what your situation is, tell them what engine you have, and they'll direct you the right way to get the right oil. Alright, that concludes this week for our weekly budget builds. So, we got our transmission bracket done. We were going to paint it, but it's just going to be a temporary thing. So, once we get our final transmission set up, we'll put that in, do an install. We ran out of time for our body mount brackets. We'll get that next week or maybe sometime this week. We got our oil change and our maintenance done on the 54 Ford. We're really glad we're getting that ready for this spring. Take it out cruising. We'll have car shows this season. We'll be cruising with both trucks, hopefully. We'll be cruising in the wagon. Let me know in any comments. You guys want to learn how to weld? We can do a welding session. Anything. Just like, subscribe. We'll also have an email. We'll have our Instagram, and you can add us on Snapchat even. But like us, subscribe, and I hope you liked our video. Thanks for watching.